Darren Bartlett joins us. Good morning, Darren. Good to see you.
Morning. How are you doing? I enjoy this conversation on a mindset change because it looks like Africa is just one country. We have the same here.
Very
Absolutely.
interesting. I wonder if there'll be that mindset change in Kenya. Anyway,
I
this
don't know.
this mindset change, I don't even know. Let's get into the conversations this morning. The Mandamano protests that has continued into the second week, just as promised by Azimio La Umoja leader Raila Odinga. Now, this comes despite President Ruto's warning over the weekend that there'll be no protest. So, give us an update on the situation. Will there possibly be some form of a mindset change? Is this protest looking likely to end? We are seeing that some shops have started to open. But what's the update with the protest?
Well, as you all know, Raila Odinga announced the Mandamano protest, and he said that they will be happening from Wednesday to Friday every single week. Those are 3 days in a week. Leaving business communities and other people who want to actually participate in economic activities just 2 days in a week. That is unlucky. If you're unlucky that you don't work on Saturday and Friday, that means you only work Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is dedicated to protests that have been mostly violent most of the time here. Now, yes, Wednesday, the protest resumed. There were people on the streets. 6 people were pronounced dead as a result of the protests. There was property damaged. In fact, some roads were damaged, and there's been an announcement actually yesterday night that further damage that has been caused on the road is worth 200 million Kenyan shillings. Yesterday, still the same. So it's been happening. The difference is that it has been happening are not as hard as it was the other week. This week it has been in different places, sprouting in different areas and different pockets here and there. Yesterday the same, and today as well. And in fact, Raila Odinga announced, and I can quote his tweet because I have it here. Yesterday when he tweeted, he said that tomorrow marks the final of the Mandamano Wednesday to Friday. That means Friday, which is today. And he says this week, it says Zakayo lazima ashuke. So what Zakayo lazima ashuke simply means is that Zakayo is the man you know in the Bible, the shit guy who was on the tree. And he says he has to come down today, basically meaning that until the prices of commodities and services goes down, especially on things like fuel and unga, what they have to be eating. But we've seen Ruto stand his ground. When he said that these protests are not going to happen, he's going to deploy more forces to see that they curtail the movements of people, and especially those who are taking advantage and to become, performing criminal activities. We saw supermarkets being looted, a lot of footage that was coming out there, and indeed he deployed so many, even civilian. The army or the police in civilian, who at some point were disguised as journalists. In fact, the Journalistic Association in Kenya came out and said that they are police officers or disguising themselves as journalists, and they are arresting people, something that they abuse. But we all know that the army or any security organization will always have officers who are in layer and those ones who are not. And at least a note was put out by their police chief and said that whoever intends to protest should wear a yellow armband so that they know that this is actually a protester. And actually some places they adhere to it, and we didn't see them scuffle with police because they just looked at them and allowed them to actually carry out their civic duty of protest, but because they adhere to it. But those who didn't adhere to it have actually faced it rough. And I'm certain that even this morning, as it looks like it's calm, there's still signs that a protest is going to go on, and we expect to report more losses here and there in economic section. The Kenyan stock market has, for the last 2 weeks, showed signs that it's actually going down because people are fearing to invest in it. I think the biggest investors on the Kenyan stock market is Uganda and Rwanda and Tanzania as well. So there is fear that injecting money there and the economy does not kick off. It's not working. It's not going to make sense. So withdrawing of finances is coming out from there.
Yeah, obviously, it's a combination of issues, that is leading to the frustration in Kenya. I don't think it's just the taxes.
Yeah.
There's a lot more, and of course, Raila Odinga not being present also might be one of the reasons that, it hasn't been, as vicious as it was expected. But let's move away from Kenya. Uganda's Forum for Democratic Change, FDC, its party spokesperson, says Muju Nganda, has, of course, accused the party's leadership of collaborating with President Museveni's ruling NRM party, and then called for a meeting with the party's vice president, Kampala's Mayor Erias Lukwago, with the, of course, FDC once being a formidable force against President Museveni and led by former presidential candidate Kisa Besigye. Is there a possibility that the party might collapse? And what does this mean for the political landscape in Uganda?
These were events that no one ever expected to happen, because FDC for the last two decades has been the most formidable, the most challenging party to President Museveni. As you all know, Besigye was running as a presidential candidate against President Museveni for the last 2 decades, where he came very, very close to him winning this election. And it's a really difficult one. But the allegations that Semoju raises here, who is the party spokesman, and the very vocal gentleman here, he says that there is money that was received, and the party secretary general received this money, and he tried to, he actually gave it to Kizza Besigye. He acknowledges it, but he never disclosed the source of this money until yesterday, when he actually said that I'm a businessman, so I withdrew it from my account and facilitate and gave it to the party presidents. And it's become a very difficult position whereby they track back the statements of the president when he said that by 2026 there will be no opposition party in Uganda. And is this what it actually means? So we see a party that has been so strong at once, had the majority of MPs in parliament, is now collapsing into two. They've split into two directions. The section that is going with the president of the party and the secretary general, and then the other section that has the the spokesperson, and also the vice president of the party. All of them spitting words at each other. This is a party that had individuals who were so grounded in politics, spoke so hard against the government, went so hard against it. Now the public is seeing them as a joke, that they have been infiltrated. The same thing that happened to the longest political party in Uganda, DP, which is now in bed with the NRM government. In fact, we see a number of ministers now appointed from opposition parties. Again, like DP, the Minister for Justice is from DP, who also stood against the President Yoweri Museveni. We saw a party, the second longest, the second oldest party in the country, UPC, which is Uganda People's Congress, which was actually the party that helped Uganda attain independence, also is in bed with the National Resistance Movement Party of Museveni's government, and they have ministers in it. The FDC that we are talking about, we saw interesting products. Today's Speaker of Parliament and the Deputy came from FDC.